the reason you have such a hard time pronouncing words in French that they're not always pronounced the same way. Like the word for two is de, but if you have two friends, it's deux amis. So where'd that z come from? Now, if you've studied French before, you might have heard this referred to as liaison, when there's a consonant that doesn't usually get pronounced, but sometimes does get pronounced if there's a vowel at the beginning of the next word or something like that. A lot of times this happens with consonants at the ends of words that historically used to be pronounced like pretty much all the time, but over the course of French's phonological history, well, you know how French is with consonants, right? Sometimes it's hard to watch even. It's like, well, oh my God, oh. But anyway, you might have been sitting in French class at some point learning about liaison and thought to yourself, oh, French is such a silly language. I mean, thank goodness no other language does something as silly as that. Liaison is just one example of a linguistic process called sandhi, which is when sound changes happen in between two different words, or morphemes, like units of, let's just call them words. Sandhi, if you're curious, comes from the Sanskrit word for connection or combination, and it's fitting because Sanskrit uses sandhi like everywhere. You'll see vowels turning into consonants or two vowels turning into a different vowel. It's sandhi-leavable. Sandhi-niable? Get back to me on that one. One of the most interesting examples of sandhi, though, happens in tonal languages like Mandarin Chinese or Akan, because a lot of times the tone of a certain syllable will shift in response to the tone of a different syllable in a different word over here. It's really quite fascinating, and I mean, can you imagine if this kind of thing happened in English? Well, you're not going to believe this, but this is a very basic explanation of a very complex morphophonological process, but I hope at the very least you found it interesting, and I hope you look more into it yourself. For the time being, thanks so much for watching. Let me know if there's anything else we want to talk about, and à plus tard.